Hello and welcome to this episode of Impact Network, brought to you by India is Us. I'm Pooja Grover Bhatnagar. Menstrual health, hygiene, education, and accessibility is a global issue. According to a UNICEF study, in India alone, 71% of the girls are educated on this topic after their first period. 23 million girls drop out of education system because of limited access to menstrual hygiene and facilities. Peesafe is a for-profit, conscientious organization that is working to bring menstrual health, hygiene awareness and education to girls and boys across the country, along with working on building sustainable sanitary products for the masses. Today, we have with us Nupur Aggarwal from Peesafe to talk on this topic. Welcome, Nupur.
Thank you, Pooja, and thank you, India as Us, for having me here. It's a great opportunity to reach to masses and talk about menstrual hygiene.
Thank you for joining us today, Nupur. She's a passionate person who's working on bringing education on the topic to masses and is the flag bearer of the project Hakse Period at Peesafe. Nupur, when we talk of periods and the products that we think in terms of managing the periods, we think of sanitary pads, we think of cloths that you can wash and recycle, tampons and cups, and of all of these products, sustainability and biodegradability is a concern. For sanitary pads, it is said that it takes 5 to 800 years for the plastic, polymers and glues to dissipate and dissolve into the environment. Where does Peesafe stand in this journey of making the products more sustainable for the environment?
So when we talk of sustainability, we mean something, we are leaving a planet usable even for our future generations.
Right.
We also have to survive and our future generations also have to survive. So we're promoting these periods have to come every month. It's not just, aaj aaya aur uske baad nahi aayega. So it has to come on every month. So whatever product we're using, if we keep on dumping into the environment, imagine the kind of waste pile it will build up.
Right.
We promote reusable pads, which are good for 2 years for a menstruator's life. Or if we talk about cup, which is amazing product being used for 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
So imagine a menstruator having 40 years of menstrual cycles, and just 4 cups is sufficient for the entire.
Okay, and I think it's been very interesting journey in the kind of menstrual hygiene products that have become available, because traditionally we used to use cloth rags, and then we moved to sanitary pads, and now we have the cups. But this one question that comes to my mind is ki, like you're saying, you're providing reusable pads, right?
Yeah.
And the rags that people use at home, how are they any different?
Oh, that's a very common question. People do ask us that, if you are talking about cloth pads, and that is also cloth, so how they are different.
Right.
See, imagine every cloth has a different kind of absorption capacity. So when we are using it for the periods, we have to make sure that cloth is able to absorb that much amount of blood. We are not talking about any liquid, not water or anything. Absorbency is different for different materials. So it will be different for blood. Then we want the cloth to be antimicrobial, because it has to remain near to the vagina. It has to be absolutely clean. It should not be in turn causing infections to the user. It has to remain in its place. It should not be moving around. So we have those buttons which keeps it in place. It's really soft. Again, if you're using cloth rag at home, you must have seen that people making folds and folds of it, and it becomes so thick, so difficult to walk. We call it as a penguin walk when people are walking with it. So with our pads or any reusable pads, if you're talking about, so reusable pads, our manufacturer says that they're thin and yet able to absorb that much.
Okay.
And it's not releasing blood under the pressure which is there between the legs. So that's how it's much usable, and it is tested that yes, it can be washed 60 number of times.
Okay.
And it will be good to wear for 4 to 5 hours. It won't be causing any kind of infection.
Okay, fair point. But a lot of people do not have the resources to buy the reusable pads, or might not have access to buy it. and there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube on how to make it at home. So what is your advice to people doing a DIY on reusable pads?
See, anybody can do it. Obviously, it's cloth again. They can stitch and do it. But then, are they testing it? Are they using the right material as an absorbent? Okay, and whether that cloth itself is should be tested for any kind of infection not happening to the intimate areas. It's going to be very near to their vagina, so it should be tested. It should be soft to use. So all those tests and all, they cannot do at home. But then yes, if you are using normal rags, or if you're using those sand, even cow dung, please move a step ahead. At least we would support that.
Right. And in fact, I think if you're just using a rag at home, probably cotton might be a good fabric to pick up.
Yes, I would say cotton is a good fabric. Like if we say about the commercially made product, we have flannel as our top layer. So DIY is an option, but as a well-researched product, I would say our product has to go through a series of tests, on various parameters. Like absorption, washability, about infections should not happen. In fact, you consider this product has to be used by a menstruator, and so we cannot compromise on the hygiene or dignity at any cost.
Okay, fair point. Another option amongst all the options that we have today is menstrual cup. So where does that fit in terms of menstrual care?
So menstrual cup, I would say, is the best invention. This is something, it makes a menstruator free for 5 to 10 years. It can be used for 12 hours. So imagine, if you're out for work and you don't have to change it. Every time you don't have to worry about whether a toilet is available nearby to clean your pad or change the pad, whether it has leaked or not. Menstrual cup is a leak-free option. So, and economical as well.
But since it's a relatively new product, so to say, the education on how to use it or the comfort factor around using it is limited. Is there any trainings or educational video that you have on your website?
Yeah, we have a lot of, in fact, we do go out and do sessions, awareness sessions in corporates and schools to talk about how to use a cup. And I do agree there's a learning curve with a cup. But once users, it takes hardly 1 or 2 cycles to get used to using a cup. But after those 2 cycles, imagine 10 years of freedom, the kind of, what is the payoff for this, for adopting to a cup. It's just 2 cycles. And after that, they will be free for their life. They won't have to worry about what to wear, what not to wear. And they can swim, they can run, they can exercise, anything they want to do. Especially if you talk about athletes, swimmers, people in police or army. Imagine the kind of freedom it is going to bring it up. So all 30 days will be alive.
Okay. So, you mentioned that you do provide trainings on this, and you had mentioned earlier that there are a lot of other training programs that you conduct on education on menstrual hygiene and management. So, can you just tell us briefly about how do you go around implementing these programs?
So we get approached by corporates, or we partner with various NGOs, wherein we go to the masses and train them about the anatomy of their body. We tell them why it is important to have menstruation and how it happens, so that they realize that it's something, a natural process and nothing which makes them impure. We break taboos and myths around it. We tell them what are the different ways they can manage menstruation, and if we talk about reusable products, it's important that they understand how to use a reusable product.
Right.
There's learning required there. So the right way of using it and how to maintain its hygiene, that's very important. So we go them, we make them have a look and feel of the product, they touch it, and we distribute it to them also, and then we tell them how to actually clean them. If you're talking about reusable pads, then how to wash them and hang them in sun to dry. If you're talking about menstrual cup, then how to clean it, when to sterilize it before and after the cycle, between the cycles, how to wash it and keep it away. So all those details we cover up in that session. And we
Okay.
actually make them bust the taboos on their own. Because we have told them the process, they can actually take logical reasoning why that taboo is no longer relevant in today's time.
Okay. So, when you give these educational programs, what kind of age group do you target? Today, as a consumer, we have so many options to take care of the menses, from sanitary pads to tampons to menstrual cups. Menstrual cups is relatively new in the Indian market, and Peesafe has been working on spreading awareness on this product as well. Being on the other side of the table, what has been your observation of the trends in shift in usage?
I would give you a stark example. In just a few months back, there was a visitor in our office from University of California, and with the discussions, we got to know that in US people are shifting from sanitary pads to tampons, and still not much of people have moved on to the cups. But in India, in a country like India, people are moving from sanitary pads directly to menstrual cup. That step in the ladder for the tampons is not there, because if they are ready to insert something inside their body, they would rather go for a cup. It's more economical. You don't have to buy it again and again.
Okay.
And it's much safer option.
Yeah, you just recently mentioned that you can use it for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and for 12 hours you can keep it in your body.
Okay. But 5 to 10 years is a relatively long range. Like, as a user, how do you guide a consumer to stop using it, that it is no longer in good condition or a safe condition to use?
So when we say 5 to 10 years, we are talking about that it has been hygienically, its hygiene has been well maintained during the period. And when to discard a cup, it's a very good question. I would say that many people are actually thinking about it. So you need to keep observing your cup. It should not discolor, or there should not be any fungus formed around its rim. There should not be any cuts. So that's a major mark which you can say, that which tells you that if it is not in its original situation, please change it.
Okay.
That's the only precaution.
Okay. Also, as a part of your campaign, you take a lot of projects with various foundations and corporates to spread awareness as well as to provide menstrual care products. So, there are options that you yourself are providing. So, how do you decide in which camp, which product you would be distributing to the individuals?
I would will say that first and foremost is obviously the budget which they are going ahead. But then my recommendation is always that in case you want to serve 1,000 menstruators, you better serve 300, but give them a product which is serving them for a longer time.
Okay.
Because they anyways don't have means to buy it. So if we're giving them a pad or say a 2-month supply, but then after that what?
Okay.
They won't be in position to buy it again. So they will be again resorting back to the ways they were managing it earlier. So if we give them a cup, we are actually giving them 5 to 10 years of liberty from periods.
Okay. So when you approach corporations for partnerships, how is your approach? What is the process that you follow? Or there must be like the other way around also, people reaching out to you for partnerships. So what are your filters as an organization to decide, okay, this is where we want to partner with?
We want to support anybody who is trying to create awareness and help the society. And but my only concern is that when we are partnering as a collaborating partner with any of the NGOs or any philanthropic person, we want to make sure that they are actually distributing the product and not into the reselling of it.
You've traveled to far-flung areas for your work. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in these travels?
During these sessions, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, we have been addressing all age groups, and especially if we talk about the rural areas, it's still a patriarchal society where men decide what is allowed, what is not allowed to do. So we want to have more and more women join in for those sessions, and they are not allowed to come out and talk about these topics in open. So that's one of the inhibiting factors when we want to talk
So,
about
do you
it.
also invite the men folk to these sessions?
We want them to be part of it, but then again, it just happens. Even women are not allowed to sit to talk about these topics. Imagine men coming forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there any other taboos or any other cultural inhibitions other than patriarchy that you have faced?
If we talk about period poverty, so period poverty is not only about availability of the products, it's also about the right to privacy. If they are using pads, still they need some privacy to be able to change it. They should have the means to wash themselves. They should have accessibility to water, soap, and that also I found to be missing at many places.
I think that is true. The infrastructure challenge has always been a big problem in the fight, and I think providing toilets to each house and educational institute has been a step in this direction.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying, in fact, when corporates are taking up corporate social responsibility and doing these exercises, we would really, ask them that in case you are going ahead, please make sure that those facilities are also there and not only just created but maintained also well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's very critical. A lot of times, as a corporate, your CSR target is to maybe build a certain number of washrooms, you do it, but then the maintenance and running of it is just unaccounted for. So that is so true. Just to keep an infrastructure running in itself is also a huge responsibility and a very critical part of any CSR project.
I was during one of the sessions, I was in a government school and I had to use a washroom. I went there and there was no bolt, there was no water. I had to ask principal that,
And I'm not even surprised to hear this because it's so commonplace
So
from
they
where we
actually
travel.
switched on the motor that very time to
Yeah.
provide me with water.
Right. And it's very sad, but it's the reality for so many.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a long journey that needs to be taken, and it's great effort that you yourself, along with the organization and all the people you're connected with, are doing. I would just request you to leave with a message for our audience. While much progress has been made in terms of infrastructure, there's a lot that still remains to be wanting. While on the one hand, as we just discussed, there are not even proper locks and latches in bathrooms. But then there are recently a lot of sanitary pad incinerators being put in place in government schools and private schools across the country. What do you think about this recent trend?
So it's a good initiative that they're thinking about it in schools. But I have a point there. That suppose we are saying that put on sanitary pads distribute karna hai, then we have to put incinerators also. Then there will be overheads that everybody is getting it or not. We can
Right.
check it, and there will be waste generation. A lot of overheads. Why not we have a simple solution? Let's give them a reusable pad or a cup at the start of a session itself, and every year maybe they get a new pad, a new set of pad or cup with their new set of books and bag.
That's definitely a thought there, but are girls comfortable with using products such as the menstrual cup?
So girls might be, I would say girls are ready, but it's the parents, which have that orthodox thinking that a cup cannot be inserted in a virgin girl. So this virginity myth needs to be busted now. It's high time. A hymen has to have a hole so that the blood actually comes out of the body. So it is always there. So that kind of awareness is the need of the times now. People need to be aware of it, and more than girls themselves, it's their parents who need to be educated about it.
Most definitely, menstrual cups and reusable sanitary pads are options. But in my experience, there are still sadly taboos around the usage of cups, especially with regards to young girls. So when you give a suggestion such as this, how do you think the girls can be encouraged and educated to use this product?
Pooja, when we talk about young girls, they are very open to new ideas, accepting new products available. When we go and aware them, we tell them about how to use a cup, and they are very eager to the changes it can bring in their lifestyle, how it is good for the environment. They are all game for it. But the problem is with the parents.
Okay, so in your experience, the response of the girls is very positive, and they're inquisitive and happy to try new products.
Yes, the problem is with the parents, whether parents will allow them to use a cup or not. So I would feel that there is a requirement that whenever we are conducting drives, let's have parents also be present there and understand what is the actual anatomy of the body, which we as parents have also been never taught.
Right.
And the problem is not only with the rural areas, it is there, very much there, prevalent even in the urban areas.
That's true, and which is why it's more of a cultural shift, because generationally the awareness on a lot of these topics is limited, or probably even sometimes misguided.
Yes, this virginity myth is a big issue, wherein people just think that whenever we inserting cup, we are breaking the hymen, but hymen has to have a hole if the blood has to come out. So that's the basic thing that people don't even know. So all those things need to be conveyed properly. People need to be aware, and people need to try and learn themselves. There's so many options available. There's internet full of knowledge and resources.
Right. Like they say, the biggest library in the world is YouTube if you want to educate yourself on anything. I would just thank you for joining us today, and as a parting message, if you would like to share something with our audience.
So I would simply say that it's the need is for learn as well as unlearn. We need to learn to adapt to new options which are available, learn to live with the new times, but we need to unlearn the teachings we have had over the generations. We need to logically question them, answer them objectively with our new set of education. That's all I would like to say.
Very, very beautifully put. I think it's a great message to carry forward in life, to learn and unlearn, and to actually keep up with the trends, adopt the practices that serve you today in a very constructive manner. Thank you, Nupur, for joining us. I would like to thank our venue partner, Crystal Hughes, decor partner Harmony Overseas, and promotions partner CHL Worldwide.